When you see that big white L-shaped coaster in the parking lot, you know you're at Canobie Lake Park in Salem, New Hampshire. This beautiful park started in 1902, as you can see on their gorgeous entranceway there. So let's go into the park. We've been here before, and there's a couple new things in the park, so let's just do a little review here. So much of this park looks like Roller Coaster Tycoon. You've got this gigantic popcorn building that looks like a giant bucket of popcorn, and you'll find stuff like that all over the Midway. It's really whimsical. Notice the enormous amount of shade here. It's always really pleasant to be in this park because you feel like you're walking through a forest. So over on the right here, we have the Canobie 500, a little antique car ride with race cars. And then over here on the right is a paintball arena. This is, in my opinion, the prettiest park in New England. It's really easy to get to, right off of Route 93, heading north. And as you might have noticed by the sign as we entered this area, this is the old Yankee Village section of the park. A really nicely themed, sort of old Western styled area. And Canobie is not really a theme park, but it's got beautifully themed areas, very meticulous. There's some puzzle rooms there, like escape rooms that you can do. That's a really good ice cream shop over there. Here is the Policy Pond Sawmill, which is a really nice flume ride. And it's called Policy Pond because that's what Canobie Lake was originally, was Policy Pond. And in fact, the park is located on North Policy Street. Over here on the left is a little kiddie canoe ride. And one thing I love about this park is they don't clutter it up with stuff filling every single corner of the park. They leave a lot of open space, which makes it feel much more like a picnic area than an amusement park. Notice that the sawmill ride is built in these troughs in the ground. So again, it feels very natural. You don't feel like it's a fiberglass amusement park ride. It feels very organic. And now we're getting to the very south end of the park. In front of us, where that big storage unit is, that yellow storage unit, that used to be a set of water slides when they didn't have a water park. They took all that out, and this is all under development now. I'm not sure what's going to go there. And over down there is a barbecue place, but it didn't seem to be open. This right here on the left is the Mine of Lost Souls, which is an amazing dark ride. It's technically very sophisticated and unusual for a small park like this to have something this elaborate, but really nice. And it's not too scary, so it's appropriate for small children as well. This is the village stage, which has shows during the summer. Little skee ball arcade. And then coming up on the left is the pirate ship. The day we were there, it was the second weekend the park was open, and there was threat of rain. It was pretty chilly. It was in the 50s with pretty gusty winds. So not a lot of people in the park that day, but normally the park gets pretty crowded. Especially the water park, which we're coming up on. The water park has been so successful that they just can't keep expanding it fast enough. There's the Sealand Rescue, a nice little kiddie airplane ride. And notice this boat here that's broken in half. They didn't have to do this, but it really helps the theming. It makes it seem sort of like it's been there all along. And one of the owners of the park is a designer, and he loves doing stuff like this. Notice Castaway Island here. This is the water park, and it's pretty big. It wasn't open that day, obviously, because nobody's going to go in the water in 50-degree weather. But you can see it's pretty expansive. There's a lazy river over there. There's a whole splash park way back there. And again, really fun theming throughout. And now we're heading back north. Canobie Lake is still a family-owned and operated park, one of the few left in the country. And all of the family members are always out in the park. And that's one of the things, I think, that makes it such a beautiful place, because they're really involved in the operation of it, and they take a lot of pride in it. There's another view of the Canobie 500. This whole area over here, where the gravel is in front of us, that used to be the train at one time. And that whole green area used to be the Canobie Corkscrew, one of the first aero corkscrew coasters made. When they took that out, they've reserved that spot, and they're pretty sure they're going to be expanding the water park into that area eventually. To our right is the back of the Extreme Frisbee ride, which we got a glimpse of at the beginning of the video. In front of us there, that big Hamburg indicates that on the left is the Bebop Diner, which serves veggie burgers. That's the Rooster ride, which is a nicely themed flying scooter ride. Now, we could keep going down this path here. There's also a path to the right. We're going to take the left path here and make a clockwise circle of the park. Here's the back of the Bebop Diner. Down on the left there is, you can see the splash park for Castaway Island. There's also a couple of kiddie rides down there, and the entrance to the Canobie train station. And that's the Dragon Coaster, the kiddie coaster. And the purple ride in front of us is the Turkish Twist, which is a rotor. And again, all these little winding paths all over, so you can pretty much get anywhere you want in the park very easily. There's not a specific spoke design to the park. It's just all these little winding paths through the trees. And that big green building used to be the park's roller rink, but it's been co-opted for Scream Fest, which happens during the Halloween season, and that's a pretty terrifying haunted house in there. We're now entering the Ye Olde Boston section of the park, which is themed to an old New England town. On the left, that building, it was hit so often by this ride in front of us, the Boston Tea Party, that it started to deteriorate, so they're doing a massive renovation of it. On the right are some eateries. There's a really good ice cream shop there, and a Sons of Liberty Tavern. Boston Tea Party is one of the best shoot-the-chutes ride ever built. It's pretty impressive, the splash it makes. In fact, you can see how wet the midway is. If you're on the ride, you will get completely drenched, and if you're standing near the ride, you will get completely drenched. Over here on the right is another kiddie ride, and it's nice that they intersperse the kiddie rides throughout the park. There is a kiddie land, which we'll see a little later, but there are plenty of kiddie rides all over the place. And up here you have fried clams. Typical New England treat. And I can hear the boat coming up the lift hill, so let's take a look and you can see for yourself how big this splash is. Yeah, those people will be a bit cold. And you notice that big covered bridge they put in there, that's to help deflect some of that splash to take it away from that building. And again, paths winding around all over the place there, but we're going to keep going straight here. In front of us now is the park's dance hall, and it's had a lot of renovation done to it. I didn't realize, I found out on this visit, that that building was constructed by the Philadelphia Toboggan Company, who is responsible for the roller coaster they have. And it says Twisted Circus, and that's a show that they have in there during the season. Also new in there this season is the Dance Hall Museum. Over on the right you can see the entrance to the Sky Ride, and also there's a double-decker carousel there. The park also has another antique carousel. We'll see that a little later. On the left is Portofino's restaurant, which serves Italian food. And there goes the Canobie Express. It is a steam-powered train, has a propane tank in it, and it gives a nice ride. Not as long as it used to be. It was cut down when they expanded the water park. But it's still a nice ride along the lakeside. On the left is Da Vinci's Dream, which was down while we were there. And if you'll indulge me here, I'm going to take a little detour because I'm curious about the turnout they have in the track and how they do it. Because the train sort of goes one way, and when it comes back it goes the other way, and I've never understood how they did it. So let's take a look for you railroad enthusiasts out there. So there's the turnout, and looks like they have some sort of electronic ram there that switches it automatically. I didn't know if it switched itself or how it does it, but there you have it. And on the left is the entrance to the Blue Heron Cruise, which is a boat that goes out on the lake. It's a nice 20-minute ride out there. And there's also an arcade there on the left. And there's a mini scooter for the kids. You can see the Sky Ride up above. And in front of us is, again, one of the things I love about this park is they keep a lot of these antique rides in beautiful shape, and they're in the process of renovating the one on the left there. This is not an antique, but it's, again, very nicely themed ride, a balloon ride. Over the rainbow. The Caterpillar, one of the few left in the world, and it normally is in really good shape, but it looks like they're still putting it together for the season. There's the skater. And on the right over here is probably one of the oldest structures in the park, and they recently renovated this. This is their fountain. And they re-landscaped this whole area, and it looks really nice now. In front of us is Untamed, which is a Gerstlauer Eurofighter. It's a pretty intense coaster, and it's the only one of these in New England. The big building on the left is the Bear Lodge, which has the Gables Grill in it. And let's take a walk in here because it's got one of my favorite places to go when I'm in the park. No, not a woodland forest, but the pinball parlor. And they even still have, I didn't realize they still had this, but they still have the Hercules machine, which is very rare now. But it's the largest pinball machine ever built. And it still works. Pinball Parlor has a lot of machines to choose from, most of them modern machines. But some really good ones, very popular. They have the Addams Family, they have Twilight Zone, and they also have Lord of the Rings, they have Wizard of Oz, they've got Jaws, which is pretty much brand new. I spent quite a bit of time here. All right, so let's go back out onto the Midway. There's also another area if we were to go left, and I think I explored it in another video, but there's an area if you follow a path to the left that takes you around to the back of Untamed, and there's a set of sort of buildings and facades out there, and that area is another area that's used for Halloween. It's another haunted house type area that is a sort of outdoor haunted house area that they use. And over here we have another antique car ride on the right, and in front of us is the brand new ride in the park. They've taken quite a while installing it, and they finally got it running. And of course, when I went there, they were loading it, and it takes forever to load, so we don't get to see it run, actually. You see people hanging up there in the air. This is Time Winder, which is technically known as a Nebula Z ride by Zamperla. And it is absolutely fascinating to watch. I don't think I'd ride it, but I've heard it's actually pretty mild, more like a Ferris wheel. But it's absolutely fascinating to watch, and at night it must look spectacular with the big lighting package that they have there. These antique cars are a pleasant ride. It travels along by the lift hill of the Yankee Cannonball roller coaster, which we'll see in a little bit. And notice that there are plenty of places to sit down and relax in the park. They have benches all over the place. There's the carousel, the double-decker carousel in front of us, and the fountain on the right, and the station of the Sky Ride. The Sky Ride is a round trip, so you don't get off at the other end. It just goes out and then comes back. And at the other end of the Sky Ride is a gigantic picnic grove that they use for outings. Over there on the right is pizza. There's Star Blaster, which is a power shot tower. Notice all the whimsical architecture too. It's really delightful. And this is the Kiddieland area that I was talking about earlier. Lots of kiddie rides in there. And now in front of us is the station for the Yankee Cannonball. This is one of my favorite roller coasters. It's incredibly smooth. The only sort of gripe I have is that because of the design of the station, you can't choose your seat, so it's catch as catch can. So when you get in there, you get whatever seat you get. And for me, that's rough because with my back issues, I have to sit in certain seats. So I don't ride it a lot when I'm there because of that issue, but the day I was there with the Western New York Coaster Club, and we had exclusive ride time on it. So I was able to get the front seat many times. It was quite nice. And in the distance there, you can see the Wave Blaster. And here's another set of eateries, again with the fanciful roller coaster tycoon type decorations on top of them. There's a teacup ride. And the lemonade stand. It's really good fresh lemonade. And a row of games. Here's a kiddie car ride. And that big colorful structure you see in front of you is the Dodgem car building. Talk about retro. Zero Gravity is a roundup. One nice thing about this park is even when it's crowded, I never feel rushed. It really has so many other things that you can be doing here. Like for me, I'm just happy to walk around the park because it's just so pretty and so fanciful. The food is great, and I never feel like I have to rush from ride to ride. Like if I was at a ride-heavy theme park like a Six Flags, where that's all there is to do is just ride, ride, ride. It's not like that here. That's Ice Jet, a Matterhorn ride. And here is their beautiful, unique carousel. It's a menagerie carousel that they sort of cobbed together from all different carvers. And it has a really interesting double-deck setup here. Now, they normally have a really good band organ, and it always is playing. And this time they had recorded music, so I suspect that the band organ is out for repair. They used to have people come up here to work on it, but most of the band organ repair people in New England have since retired. So it's getting harder and harder to find people to work on it. So I suspect that's what happened. Over on the right, you can see the fried dough stand, and that is the best fried dough I've ever had. It was so good. Over on the left is a really nice souvenir shop, and Canobie does have very unique souvenirs in there. Magnets, t-shirts, hats, all that stuff, but really nicely themed gifts. And, you know, nice attention to detail in their gifts, the same way they have nice attention to detail in their architecture. And that brings us back to the entrance. There's the extreme frisbee ride over there. So, if you are in the northeast area of northeast Boston, Massachusetts, it's not far from there, or Maine, anywhere around there, it's really worth it to make a detour and stop by Canobie Lake Park in Salem, New Hampshire.